What's the best joke you know? A lot of people tell me I've got an addiction to brake fluid. Truth is I can stop at any time. A pirate walks into a bar with a steering wheel in his pants. Bartender: hey, you know you have a steering wheel in your pants? Pirate: it's driving me nuts. What does a robot do during a one night stand? Semicolon. What's the difference between an oral thermometer and a rectal thermometer? A taste. Not mine. But I think it belongs to my favorite ones. Doctor: will I be okay? I don't know. Mercury is in Uranus right now. I don't do astronomy, doc. Me neither. Did you hear about the cheese factory in France that exploded? Debris was everywhere. I was in the office today and the cleaning lady asked if I wanted to smoke weed with her after work. I turned her down. Two nuns were sitting on a park bench when a naked man runs by. One of the nuns had a stroke. The other couldn't reach. Stalin is sitting at his desk busy with paperwork when his assistant bursts into the room and says, "Comrade Stalin, there is a clairvoyant here that wants to see you. He claims he can see the future. Send him to gulag," says Stalin. Here's a classic. So a grandpa takes his grandson out fishing. The grandpa pulls out a smoke and lights it. The kid asks, "Hey grandpa, can I have one?" And he says, "Does your dick touch your ass?" And the kid says, "Well no," and grandpa says, "There's your answer. You're too young." Then grandpa pulls out some whiskey and takes a few pulls off the bottle. Kid asks, "Hey, could I have a drink of that, grandpa?" And grandpa says, "Does your dick touch your ass?" "Well, no it doesn't," says the kid. Grandpa says, "Well, there's your answer." So the kid pulls out some cookies and starts snacking away on them, and grandpa says, "Gee kiddo, those cookies look pretty good. Could I have one?" So the kid says, "Does your dick touch your ass?" And grandpa says, "Why yes it does." And the kid says, "Good. You can go yourself then." A Buddhist walks up to a hot dog vendor and says, "Make me one with everything." Bonus for philosophy nerds. Descartes walks into a bar. The bartender says, "Hey, Descartes, I just got this new import beer in. Want to try it?" Descartes says, I think not." And he vanishes into thin air. The Buddhist gets his hot dog and pays with a $10. He asks the vendor, "Where's my change?" The vendor replies, "Change comes from within." I mixed up the words jacuzzi and yakuza and now I'm in hot water with the Japanese mafia. A man goes to a funeral. He asks the widow if he could say a word. He goes to the front and says plethora and sits back down. The widow leans over and whispers, "Thanks. That means a lot." Edit. Thank you everyone. I gladly will add on your lines when I retell this joke. You have all made my day brighter. Another man approaches. He had been a close companion of the deceased. He too asks the widow if he might speak. And heads to the front. "Bargain," he says. The widow pats his arm. Two guys are walking down the street when they see a dog licking his balls. One guy says, "I wish I could do that." The other replies, "Dart. Well, maybe just try petting him first." A penguin is on a long deserved vacation from the zoo. He decides to take a road trip out west, where his car breaks down. Luckily, it's right in front of a mechanic in town. He drops the car off and tells the mechanic he's going to get some lunch. It's a really hot day. So after eating he stops by the ice cream shop for a little treat. Walking back to his car, the mechanic tells the penguin, "It looks like you blew a seal." The penguin laughs. "Oh. No," he said. As he wiped his mouth, "It's just ice cream." A man sat down at a bar and told the bartender, "I bet you $300 that I can into the cup all the way over there on the other side of the bar and not miss a single drop." The bartender said, "There is no way you can do that." "Sure. I'll bet you $300. The man then begins to undo his pants and begins eyeing. He starts eyeing all over the bar, spraying on the bottles and the bartender, not making a single drop in the cup. The bartender starts smiling and laughing and says, "That's it. You owe me $300. The man then gets up and walks over to the pool table and starts laughing and shaking hands with the men standing there. He walks back to bar, sits down and starts laughing at the bartender and hands him the money. The bartender asks, "Why are you laughing? You just lost the bet." The man said, "I'm laughing because I bet those guys over there $1,000 that I could all over you and your bar and you would still be laughing when I was done." Dad. I had a song stuck in my head the other day and kept singing it out loud. My wife finally broke down and screamed, "Will you please stop singing Wonderwall?" What did the sign on the door of the brothel say? Beat it. We're closed. An English job foreman is hiring. And an Irishman soon appears requesting a job. Laughing. The foreman responds, "You? Hire you? I doubt you know the difference between a girder and a joist." After a moment of pondering, the Irishman responds, "Well, one fellow wrote Faust. And the other wrote Ulysses. And my favorite when it's okay to go off color." Mother Superior is sitting in the convent one night when she hears a knock at the door. She looks out the peephole. And, seeing no one, very cautiously opens the door. She's stunned to find two leprechauns standing meekly, hats in hand, on the steps of the nunnery. "My sons. How can I help you this fine evening?" "Well, mother. Have you any leprechaun nuns in this convent?" "I'm sorry, my son. We've no leprechaun nuns here." "Well, mother. Do you know of any leprechaun nuns anywhere?" "No, my son. I don't know of any in all Ireland. And if there's none here, then there can't be any leprechaun nuns in the whole church." At this, the first leprechaun whips around, jabbing his finger at his companion. "All ye been in a penguin." "Doc, you gotta help me. I can't stop singing What's New P-Sicket." That sounds like Tom Jones syndrome. Is it common? It's not unusual. I went to the zoo and saw a baguette in a cage. I asked the zookeeper about it, and he told me it was bred in captivity. People are shocked when they find out what a terrible electrician I am. A proctologist walks into a bank. He needs to sign a document. He tries to sign, but he pulls a thermometer out of his shirt pocket. Oh. Some asshole has my pen. What's the difference between a slob on a bicycle and a well-dressed individual on a unicycle? Attire. One day 3 people were stuck on an island with cannibals. The cannibals said, "If you do what we say, we won't kill you." So the 3 people followed the orders the cannibals. So the cannibals said, "Go into the forest and pick 10 fruits of the first fruit you see." So the first person came back out of the forest with 10 apples. The cannibals said, "Put the apples up your ass without making a facial expression." The person then made a facial expression after the second apple. So the cannibals killed him. The second person came back out of the forest with 10 cherries. The cannibals said, "Put the cherries up your ass without making a facial expression." The person then started laughing on the 10th cherry. So they killed him. In heaven, the person with apples asked the person with cherries, "Why did you start laughing?" Full stop. The person replied, "I saw the third person come out with pineapples." Why did the blind man fall into the well? This guy sees a sign. Talking dog $5. He walks up and asks the man, "Does this dog really talk?" Owner. "Yep. Bull. Dog. It's true. I can talk." Man. "Holy. Dog. Yeah. I started out in the circus as a sideshow. Until the CIA found me. They recruited me as a spy. No one suspects the dog in the room is listening to state secrets. After 2 tours, I retired here in the country to live out my days." Man. My God. Man. That is the most astounding thing I have ever heard. So, why the hell are you only selling him for $5? Owner. Because that dog is a liar. He didn't do any of that. The divorce court judge says to Mickey, now let me get this straight, Mr. Mouse. You want a divorce from your wife Minnie because she's crazy? And Mickey says no. I never said she was crazy. I said she was goofy. A pair of hunters from Illinois are out in the woods. Whilst descending a hill, one of them suddenly cries out in pain and falls to the bottom, clutching his chest as he hit the ground. The other hunter rushes to his side as his friend noticeably stops breathing. Pulling out his phone, he quickly dials 911. After a few rings, the dispatcher picks up. 911, what is your emergency? Asks the dispatcher. The hunter replies, I am out near Route 51. My friend has a heart attack. I think he is dead. What do I do? Asks the hunter. The dispatcher replies, it is okay, sir. Can you calm down and make sure that he is dead? The hunter replies, okay. The dispatcher hears some rustling over the phone, followed by the resounding boom of a 12 gauge. The hunter comes back on the line asking, okay. Now what? Joke is courtesy of my stepfather and his old drinking buddy. The men of many laughs. 3 men went to hell. And they stood before the devil. The devil asked the first man, what did you do for a living? The man answered, I was a lumberjack. The devil said, then we will chop your penis off. He turned to the second man, asking the same question he asked the first. I was a fireman. Said the second man. Then we will burn your penis off. Said the devil. He turned to the third man, asking the same question he asked the other two. The third man thought about it and finally answered the devil. I was a lollipop salesman. What did Cinderella say when she got to the ball? Makes gagging sound. I told this to my family when I was like 11. Went over well. A boss had 2 employees, Alice and Jack. He only needed one, but they were hired at the same time and were both equally good at their job. He couldn't decide which to get rid of. He was sitting at a bar thinking about the situation. Alice walks in and sits beside him and asks, you seem down. What's wrong? The boss said, I need to either lay you or jack off. Alice says, well, please jack off. I'm tired. Priest and plumber go golfing. It's the last 3 holes after a close round. Plumber misses his swing and curses bugger missed. The priest is mildly offended and chastises him, you shouldn't curse in the Lord's presence. The plumber laughs it off and looks furtively over his shoulder. Next hole. The plumber is distracted and goofs on the putting green. He can't help but curse bugger this. Full stop. The priest scolds him, I told you. If you curse again, may the Lord strike you down. The priest takes the lead. On the last hole, the plumber is sweating from the pressure, practicing his putting move. 1 point separates them on the green. He swings, connects, and the ball rolls on the lip of the hole and pivots off target into the sand bunker. FK. The plumber rants. Before the priest can chime in, a mighty rumble is heard. The thick clouds overhead part and a bolt of lightning screams through the air. The priest is struck dead and a voice from the clouds says, bugger. What do you call a dog with steel balls and no hind legs? What do you call a dog with no legs? It doesn't matter, he won't come anyway. Edit. Thanks for the awards. I walked into the pharmacy and asked for some deodorant. The bull kind? What do you get if you insert human DNA into a goat? Kicked out of the petting zoo. Why does a chicken coop only have 2 doors? Because if it had 4, it would be a chicken sedan. Why does the Little Mermaid wear seashells? Because she's too big for bee shells. Edit. Had no idea this was gonna blow up. Thanks all of you for all the awards. I bought the worst thesaurus the other day. Not only was it terrible, it was also terrible. Edit. Well, shucks. Thanks for all the awards and for my most upvoted comment. You're all great. And also, you're great. Did you hear about the man with 5 penises? His pants fit like a glove. How do you spot a blind man in a nudist camp? It's not hard. Waterboarding in Guantanamo Bay sounds like a great time if you don't know what either of those things are. Much more fun to say out loud than type but. Two whales walk into a bar. The bartender asks, what can I get for you two? One whale goes, oh, I try Fedora's humpback whale impersonation here. The second whale, go home Frank, you're drunk. Two cows are standing in a field. One turns to the other and says, did you hear about the mad cow disease going around? The other cow responds, good thing I'm a helicopter. Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? How many potatoes does it take to kill an Irishman? None. What's red and bad for your teeth? A brick. Guy walks into a bar and says to the bartender, I'll show you something amazing for a beer. Bartender agrees. Guy pulls out a 10 pianist from his pocket and sets him on the bar. He starts playing beautifully. The bartender, proud, demands, where the hell do you find that little man? Guy says, I've got a tiny wizard in my other pocket. For another beer. You can make a wish. Bartender agrees and says, wizard, I'd like 100,000 bucks. Suddenly the bar fills with 100,000 ducks. Bartender, confused and angry, says, what the hell mate? I didn't want 100,000 ducks. Guy responds, oh, you think I wanted a 10 pianist? What's the difference between a dirty bus stop and a lobster with breast implants? One is a crusty bus station and the other is a busty crustacean. As a Finn, I have a special fondness for Russian Soviet political jokes. A new arrival to Gulag is asked, what were you given 10 years for? Oh, saw for nothing. Oh, saw don't lie to us here. Comrade. Everybody knows for nothing is 3 years. A judge walks out of his chambers laughing his head off. A colleague approaches him and asks why he is laughing. I just heard the funniest joke in the world. Well, go ahead. Tell me, says the other judge. I can't. Oh, so I just gave someone 10 years for it. I remember one. A man once received 25 years in prison for saying Gorbachev was an idiot. 5 years for insulting the leader. Doctor, I swallowed a pen. Well. Two windmills are standing in a field when one asks, what's your favorite type of music? I have a joke I tell kids. I start with the interrupting cow knock knock joke. Knock knock. Who's there? Interrupting sloth. Slowly. Interrupting sloth who? Wait a few seconds. What's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? One is very heavy. And the other is a little lighter. A Chevy Silverado. A Ford F-150. A Ram 1500. A GMC Sierra. Not mine. I went to a beekeeper to get 12 bees. He counted and gave me 13. Sir, you gave me an extra. That's a freebie. Why do scuba divers fall out of the boat backwards? Because if they fell forwards they'd still be in the boat. How do you find Will Smith in the snow? An Englishman, a Frenchman, a Spaniard and a German are all standing watching an American street performer do some juggling. The juggler notices the four gentlemen have a very poor view. So he stands up on a wooden crate and calls out, "Can you all see me now?" "Yes." "O-U-I-S. Jar." Real dad joke coming up. What's a pirate's favorite letter? Most proceed to say RRRR. Comma, you'd think it's the R but its first love is the C. Edit. Thank you for the Silver Stranger. Edit 2. Thank you for the Hugs Award. Edit 3. First gold. Thank you third kind stranger. Edit 4. A Rocket Life Award. Not sure what that is but thank you. Edit 5. Woke up to a load more awards. Pirates love the sea. No doubt. But the truth is their favorite letter is actually P. Without it they're just irate. What is Super Mario's favorite clothing material? Exclamation point. Denim denim denim. Less than sign. And. What is Bruce Lee's favorite drink? Exclamation point. Water. What's better than seeing a girl wrestle? Seeing her box. A man went on vacation to Spain. One day in his hotel room, he began to feel very ill. So ill, in fact, that he thought it best to see a doctor. Not knowing where the nearest hospital was, he picked up the phone in his room and called the concierge. When the call was answered, he asked, "Where is the nearest hospital? I am very ill and need to see a doctor." The concierge replied, "Don't worry about going to the hospital. The hotel has its own doctor. I'll send him up to you right away." Sir. Surprised by this, the man waited in his room and sure enough, there was a knock at his door a few minutes later. The man opened it and greeted the doctor. As the doctor examined his patient, the man said to him, "I didn't think a hotel would have an in-house doctor like this." The doctor said, "You wouldn't be the first to think that. No one expects the Spanish in physician." Q. What's the hardest part of a vegetable to eat? A. The wheelchair. The sergeant says to the soldier, "I didn't see you had camouflage training yesterday." "Thank you, sir." A meek little guy gets sent to prison. He gets to his cell and there's a huge, burly inmate staring at him. "Hey boy, you wanna play house?" "Sure." "Well, do you wanna be the man? Or do you wanna be the woman?" "I want to be the man." "We'll come over here and suck your wife's dick." What's illegal? A sick bird. A man and a woman are starting their work day. She looks at him and says, "I'm so over this today. Watch this, I'm gonna go home early." So she ties a rope around her ankles, throws it over a rafter, hauls herself up and starts swinging back and forth. Boss walks in, sees her, and says, "What the hell are you doing up there?" "I'm a light bulb. I'm a light bulb. I'm a light bulb." She yells down. Boss says, "You know, I think maybe you need a day off. Why don't you head home?" So she lets herself down, winks at her coworker, and walks out, hot on her heels. The male coworker starts walking out behind her. Boss says, "And where do you think you're going?" "Well, you don't expect me to work in the dark, do you?" What do gay horses eat? Hawaii. What type of wood doesn't float in the water? Natalie wood. What do genders and the Twin Towers have in common? There used to be two of them. Full stop. Full stop. And now it's a really touchy subject. Edit. I can't wait to not remember a single one of these when I'd actually like to tell one. It's about amnesia. I'd tell you my favorite dead baby joke, but I always up the delivery. What do you call someone who kills himself in the grocery store? I went to a zoo the other day and they only had one animal. How do you make a plumber cry? You kill his family. So there's these two muffins in an oven. One muffin looks at the other muffin and says, "Boy, it sure is hot in here." The second muffin screams at a talking muffin. Superman is flying around Metropolis when he sees Wonder Woman sunbathing. She's naked, just lying there soaking up the sun. Superman can't help himself. He's gotta go down and get a piece of the action. Flying faster than a bullet, he makes his way down, does his business, and flies out of there. Wonder Woman. What the $at was that? Invisible Man. I don't know. But my ass is killing me. What's the difference between Neil Armstrong and Michael Jackson? Oh. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? This one is a long one, but it's my favorite. A man walks into a bar. In the distance between the door and his usual bar stool, the man has a realization. This bar is the only place he feels at home. However, he only feels at home in the bar when he's drunk. The drunk man has a home. But when he's sober, he has no home. This epiphany is very emotional and painful for him. He slumps down in his barker, tears on his face, and cries out in distress. Dart. No good? Then I'll tell the short version of the joke. A man walks into a bar. Ouch. I was walking down the street and I see this sad looking kid sitting on the side of the road. So I ask him, hey kid, are you an orphan? With a look of surprise he says, yeah. What gave me away? Your parents. Do you want to play the RP game? No. That's the spirit. How do you make a snooker table laugh? Put your hand in its pockets and tickle its balls. Why can't you fool an aborted fetus? It wasn't born yesterday. A panel of esteemed professors is asked, what do you think is humanity's greatest invention? The first responds, I'd have to say the combustion engine. It has allowed people to move goods across great distances and allowed people to travel, connecting the world physically. The second responds, clearly, the computer. It has revolutionized communication and computation. We have used it to increase knowledge a millionfold. It has driven all manner of innovations across many different sectors. Truly amazing. The last says, the thermos. The moderator and others are baffled. The thermos? Really? And why do you say that? The professor pauses and then says, well, it keeps hot things hot and cold things cold. Of course. Quite remarkable. The moderator, incredulous, says, but what's so amazing about that? It doesn't seem very remarkable. And the professor responds, you put the hot liquid in and it stays hot. You put the cold liquid in and it remains cold. And that is remarkable? Yes. But how does it know? 3 knights are attending the king's court, where he has asked them to tell of their great deeds. The first knight says, sire, I defended our border and held out as the enemy laid siege to the city. I slew their champion in single combat. This I have done in your name. The king thanks him and rewards him with lands and riches. The second knight says, my lord, I sought out the bandits of the Great Wood, infiltrated their hideout and wiped them out to the last man. This I have done in your name. The king thanks him and gives him even more lands and riches. The third knight says, your majesty, I boldly rode out against your enemies in the north. I slaughtered their warriors, killed their livestock, burned their crops, and slept with their women. This I have done in your name. But we have no enemies in the north. The king protests. Ah, says the knight, looking pale. Well, you do now. I have a great knock knock joke. Knock knock. An elderly Holocaust survivor passes away after a long and productive life. He arrives in the afterlife and is told that due to his sacrifices, he gets to meet God immediately instead of having to wait. So he is very nervous as he meets God. He decides to break the ice by telling a joke. He tells a Holocaust joke. God does not laugh. The old man shrugs his shoulders and says, I guess you had to be there.